Shalom. Every once in a while you do one of those videos where you may get some kickback. People may not want to hear what you have to say. You know what? This may be one of those videos. I hope those that have the eyes to see and ears to hear will hear. Shalom, shalom. Following Yeshua. Welcome again to the Rock. Another long day, getting stuff done with work, and praise y'all for the job. Praise y'all that, again, I'm continually grateful for the job that I have. They work around everything all my feast days, the Sabbath. They work around all that, so how can I complain? I'm just thankful. Hallelujah. But sometimes I do get home and I am tired, like today. Sisters did a live stream yesterday, and they talked about many, many topics, and it was a good live stream. It was a very good live stream. One of the things that was talked about in the live stream, and also was talked about, I've gotten many, many questions about, is a covering. Following Yeshua, with times going on, with the way things are going today, do I need a covering? And I'm going to answer the question this way. In the word of Yah, not having a covering, which is either a father or a husband for women, was detrimental, and oftentimes could have been a life and death thing. Think of the story of Elijah. When Elijah went to the house of the woman who was a widow, and she had her son, and they were about to eat their last morsel of food and die. She had no covering. And in today's Western society, that's accepted. It's accepted to not have a covering. Why? Because the society that we live in today has afforded the opportunity for women to not have to be covered and to still reap the benefits of this society. But understand, this is a result of this Western society. This is not a result of Yah's way of doing things, whether you like it or not. This is irrelevant on whether you like it, your feelings say about it or not. This is what it is. So because of the way this Western culture has made it, women don't need a covering anymore. They can do things by themselves. If you read Numbers chapter 30, it talks about, the man passing, a father having authority over his daughter until she got married, and then the husband had authority over the daughter or over the woman. See, it used to be a negative thing, a bad thing, a scourge, a rebuke, to not have a covering. But because we live in this modern Western culture, it is no longer that. In fact, it's largely accepted. I was reading the comments, and I read many, many, many sisters who were talking about, wishing they had a covering. And it's another thing is that the society, what it does is it teaches women they don't need a covering. So women go and make bad decisions and bad mistakes. And then those bad mistakes make it even more difficult to have a covering. So it's just a society, that the society perpetuates this problem over and over again. But a covering, you sisters need. Single sisters, you need a covering. Whether that be a father, a husband, a tribe, you need a covering. It was never intended for you to handle this alone. Women say, I want to come out. How do I come out by myself? I'm letting you know right now, this is following short from my advice of being out here. This is not the city. They do not accept just a random single woman out here the way the city does. See, the city accepts it. And I think a lot of times people take what they learned in the city and they try to bring that out into this sort of environment. And they respect, very much so, male authority out here. They respect a woman who has a husband out here. Or a father. Even the women out here who are single, what they do is they move on to the property with their father or with their uncle or with their brother or something like that. But there is a male who is covering them. See, they get that out here. But because we've been ingrained in this society, you know, in this culture and city living, because of city living as a woman, you can make it by yourself. You don't need a covering, a man. Especially in today's society and in the culture that we live in, you don't need that. But biblically, you know, a woman, she looked forward to being covered by either her father or her husband, especially her husband. She looked forward to that because that meant having children, and that meant, you know, he's one flesh with her, and, you know, she's going to be able to connect with him in that sort of way. You know, that's what it meant, you know, it meant having sex. So she was excited about that. But in today's culture, everybody's excited about the sex part, but don't nobody want to do things right and cover. And because everybody's excited about the sex part, that's where you have children that are born outside of wedlock, where they don't have, you know, a father in their life anymore. They don't have a male authority in their life anymore. You know, women chase off men, men abandon women. We have this big epidemic problem, especially in the faith, you know. And this is what we have today. We have an epidemic of uncovered women. And a large majority of those women who are uncovered don't want to be covered. And you know what, men? I say for those women who don't want to be covered, don't stress trying to cover them. Leave them alone. Stop trying to convince them that they need to be covered. Even on my channel, even this video, I'm not trying to convince women who don't want to be covered to be covered. If you don't want to be covered, don't be covered. This video is not even for you. It's not even for you. You know, I make enemies, you know, because people don't like what I say. They don't like what I do. And you know what? I'm not doing this for you to like it. That was never my goal. My goal was, you know, like Ecclesiasticus 4:28 says, strive for the truth and the death, and Yahweh will fight for me. My goal was to strive for the truth unto death, and then let Yahweh do the fighting. You know, it's amazing. He will open up the ears of those that are to hear. In fact, Yah's the one who does all this. He brought me to the property. He showed me things that I didn't see. He opened up my eyes because I was willing to trust in him with all my heart and lean not on any of my own understanding, but to acknowledge him in all of my ways. And my paths have been directed time and time and time again because I follow him. I follow Yeshua. And as we look at our ancient ways, it's amazing that, again, we want to embrace I'm a Hebrew, but we don't want to embrace the culture. We want to embrace I'm an Israelite, but we don't want to embrace the culture. We don't want to embrace how they did things. We only want to embrace the certain parts. We want to pick and choose. And I thought, well, I don't like polygyny, so I'm taking that out. But I really, really do like the idea of having monogamy, you know, so I'm gonna put that in. Oh, I really can't stand the idea of living off, you know, and living a quiet and simple and set apart life. But I really do like the idea of having this brand new this and brand new that. See, we're picking and we're choosing what we want to live. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with having nice things. You know, the sisters have some nice things. I have some nice things, but our goals are to live simple. The nice things that we have are not, usually it's not even because we bought them. It's because somebody gave them to us or somebody bought it for us. How many sisters today actually want a covering? How many sisters today actually are seeking a covering? You know, some of the comments I read were some of the sisters were saying, how do you know, find a covering? How do you get one? You know, fellowship is one way. Fellowship is one way. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in some later videos. This is going to be a first part of a series. This will be part one of a series. Again, I'm going to have the other sisters come on in this series with me, and we'll talk about these things, about a covering, which is vitally important because the Bible says that the husband is to nurture the wife, which means, sorry, women, you can only nurture yourself so far. There's only a certain amount of nurturing that you will be able to get from you. The husband is to nurture. And because women today are not malleable, they're not bendable, they're not moldable, they're so rigid because they've been hurt. They've gone out into the world and been hurt and been hurt and been hurt and been hurt. Now they're so rigid and hardened that they're not willing to change. They're not willing to be molded, to be malleable. If you're not malleable, you're not coverable. If you're not going to mold yourself to what your husband wants, you're not coverable by him. You even have your father cover you. but you're not malleable and coverable by him, by your husband, or by a husband, because you're going to want things to be done your way. You're going to want him to mold himself to you because you're the one who's firm. So somebody's going to be the one who's going to be changing. Somebody's going to be the one who has to be malleable. The Bible tells you, wife, to submit to your husband as unto Yahweh. It tells you to reverence your husband. See, a lot of, that's like the sisters were saying, a lot of women are not ready for marriage because they're not getting themselves ready for it. They're not getting themselves ready to be covered. They're maintaining themselves because this culture allows it. But as times continue to get worse, and they are getting worse, it's accelerating how fast it's getting worse. Sisters, you're going to see the need to have that covering. And you may not see it now. And sad thing is, a lot of sisters are going to pass on many opportunities to be covered and then pass on the opportunity altogether. And then when bad times come knocking on your doorstep because you made, no moves and you weren't coverable, then you realize the importance of a covering, but then it'll be too late because we are a people of waiting too long and things being too late. We are a master at that. We are masterful at being too late. See, but I would rather be, like I said, 10 years too early, 15 years too early, a year too early, than 5 seconds too late. So yes, sisters, having a covering is not just vitally important, but it's salvationally, which is not even a word, I just made it up right now, salvationally important. Read the Bible. Just read it. Nurturing. That's what the husband does. He nurtures you. He cherishes you. That's like me saying, I don't need the love of the Father. That's like saying, I don't need the love of Yeshua in my life. I need my master. Need him. I need him to nourish and cherish me. I need to be one with him. I need him to present me spotless. And his word does that. And for a lot of sisters today, because you are uncovered, you are relying on yourself and on your own interpretation of the Bible. And there's a lot of crazy-ass interpretations coming out now. Because a lot of women are relying on themselves instead of being covered. You read in Numbers, the woman wasn't even to vow without her covering, knowing that she was vowing. Whether it be her husband or her father. She couldn't even make a vow because the day her husband or her father heard it, if they said, no, you weren't doing that vow, they had the right to break it, even a fast. If she said, I'm fasting on the hour, he could go by and say, no, you ain't. No, you're not. The day he heard it, he could say that. But how many of us esteem that level of order? How many of us esteem the word of Yah that much to live it to that level? How many of us esteem the word of Yah to come out and live this simple life? To come out of her. So you can want to come out of her, sisters. But there's a prescribed way and order of doing it. And I know it's completely contrary to the Western society because in the city, you can do everything everybody else can do. But out here, it's different. Out here, it's different. Very different. There's an order. And I think we need to get back to, we weren't even there. We need to get to a point where this word of Yah really penetrates us and we say, you know what, to hell with what I used to think. To hell with what people think about me. I'm doing it his way. See, this is why the name of the channel is Following Yeshua. I'll follow him and I know I'll make enemies for doing it. I know it. Yeshua himself said, if the world loves you, it would love its own. So it's not a surprise to me that the world's going to hate the way I'm doing things. It's going to hate the way I'm living. It's going to hate the way I've decided by reading his word to do what he says. I understand the word, the world's going to be against it. I understand that. But I've got to follow my master. I don't have a choice. I've sought for him since I was 13 years old. And he revealed himself to me, what, 8 years ago? When I'm 36 now, so when I was 28, he revealed himself to me. I sought for him for 15 years. Do you think I'm going to let anybody take that from me? Do you think I'm going to let anybody take that from me? I find my master. Just like, I was talking to Sister Rivka, and she's very serious about, actually, I was talking to all of them, but this conversation, I was talking to Sister Rivka, and we were talking about just the seriousness of following His word. And she was saying, she was expressing how grateful she was for me choosing her, and it was humbling. And then it just it hit me. I was like, you know what, Father? I'm grateful for you choosing me. And I'm going to cleave unto you, and I'm never going to let go. That's the same thing she would say. I'll never let go. And I'm sitting there like, while she's saying, I'll never let go following your shoe, I'm looking at Father like, Father, I'll never let go. Because when you find that thing, when you find that gem, that ruby, when you find that thing that can't be valued, you hold on to it. So Yahshua says, go. I went. Yahshua says, build your house or get your fields ready first. I got my gardens ready first. Didn't build your house. So guess what? I'm building my house. I just want to follow Him. I want to follow Him with everything that's inside of me. Because what's left? What, I'm going to go out there and do the same dumb shit I was doing in the world before? Serving other gods, gods of basketball, gods of myself? No, I do it His way. And sisters, if you want, and I'm gonna have another video about, how to find a covering. But if you want to do it Yah's way, then you got to do it Yah's way. You have to do it the way it was done. Sisters, you had a covering. And the reason why a lot of sisters today don't want a covering is because they don't want to submit. And if you don't want to submit, you're uncoverable. So you shouldn't have one. You should be happy how you are. Let's get this mind out of this world, out of this city. See, the city taught us a lot of things. It taught sisters a lot of things. Y'all think that you can make it the same way you did in the city out here. And I'm going to tell you it's not so. I hope this hits somebody. I hope this opens the eyes of somebody. We got to do things the right way. I have not always done things perfectly, but I strive. We've got to do it His way. Because our way has always led to destruction. Get that covering. Seek that covering. Pray for that covering. Keep your eyes open. Seek fellowships. I'm not saying go and throw yourself out there at the first person that comes along. Be wise. But coming out is more than just a spiritual act. It is a physical act. And you're going to want a covering. You're going to want somebody to guide you, sisters, through this. The same way I'm thankful, I have a master who guides me. Just following Yeshua. Hope you're having a blessed 5th day. It's a little overcast. Look at the sky. See, I love it out here. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I'm going to let you just get some sights in before. We got some home sites picked out already. It's very exciting, and I'm very thankful, and I'm very humbled that He chose me and said, "Follow Yahshua, I got a place for you. You're going to build it up. It's called The Rock." Bless you all. Shalom.